Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. I, Devarshimroli, from the Department of English, School of Social Science and Humanities, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, welcome you all on our YouTube channel, BAOUGujarat. We are currently learning the study of poetry syllabus for the third year BA and looking at various aspects of poetry. In the previous lectures of this series of poetry, we have seen some major types like ballad, epic, limericks, metrical romance, dramatic monologues, were all objective in nature. And now, moving forward with the subjective poetry forms and continuing the same in this lecture, we will dive deep into two more forms of poetry, that are lyric and the elegy. The lyric is a short non-narrative poem that is a brief expression of mood or feelings. The term originally referred to Greek poetry composed to be sung to accompany the lyre or the harp. The lyric was sung by a single person, unlike the choric song that was by a group of singers. In the modern usage, a song is still often called a lyric, but in literature, the term is used to describe a poem that is not narrative and in which the poet is principally preoccupied with his thoughts or the feelings. Used in a wider sense, the lyric includes different forms of poetry like sonnet, elegy, ode, and hymn. Let us see the structure of the lyric. Lyric has three well-defined parts. In the first part, the poet states his emotion or the subject matter of the poem. The second part, which forms the main body of the poem, the poet develops the emotion more fully. In the final part, the poet finds a balance in his emotions and reaches a reasonable conclusion. There is a lesson learned or some comfort found. Usually, the final part of the poem tends to be philosophical or intellectual. The poem may end either with a smile or sigh. There are several examples to illustrate this threefold structure of the lyric. Say, for example, John Milton begins on his blindness with the emotion of deep sorrow at losing his eyesight and ends with the philosophical thought that they also saw who only stand and the wait. Let us see another example. P.B. Shelley has written Ode to the West Wind, which begins with pain and anguish and ends with the consoling thought, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? After exploring the initial emotion through the middle verses, let us now discuss several features of the lyric. It is a short poem that does not tell a story but makes a direct expression of emotion. It is essentially a musical. It is very subjective and expresses varying emotion of the poet. It is well structured, with the poet taking us through different stages of his emotions. Friends, so far that we have discussed lyric as one of the important forms of poetry, now we will going to see elegy, again one of the important forms of poetry. Let us start with elegy. Originally, an elegy is a poem composed of elegiac distiches or elegic meter. An elegic distiches was a part pair of metrical lines of a different length that is expressed a complete idea. It is consisted of a dactylic hexameter that is stressed, unstressed and unstressed at 6 feet, followed by a dactylic pentameter that is stressed, unstressed and unstressed at a 5 feet scheme. An elegy could be of any subject matter. If it was written in this elegic measure, in ancient Greece, the place of its origin, the term elegy covered themes such as love, war, politics, lamentation for the dead and the other subjects, both sad and the happy. In the present usage, elegy is a poem of lament written to mourn the death of the individual or to express the grief at a tragic event. The English elegy does not use the ancient elegic measure. Popular examples of an elegy includes Thomas Gray's An Elegy Written in a Country Churchyard and Oliver Goldsmith's The Deserted Village. Now let us discuss some features of elegy. It is a poem of lament, mourning the death of the person or the end of an era or a way of life. It is not limited to the form. The poet has freedom to write in any form that he chooses. The tone adopted by the poet is dignified and solemn. The elegy is suitable for serious reflections on heavy topics such as life and death. Some poets use this form to digress and express their views on the other subjects. In Lycidas, for example, Milton digresses to talk about the degradation of poetry and the religion. Although the elegy is a poem of grief, it changes by an end of resignation, peace, or even joy as the poet comes to the terms with his loss. We now will be going to see one of the major types of elegy, that is pastoral elegy. It is a form of elegy in which the mourner and the one whose death is being mourned are represented as shepherds. The Latin word shepherd is a pastor. The pastoral elegy is originated in the work of Sicilian Greek poet Theocritus. His idylls and epigrams are the earliest known pastoral elegies. His Lament for the Daphnes is well-known classical pastoral elegy in which he mourns the death mix of shepherds and Daphnes. Later, the Latin poet Virgil wrote his in this form. It was forgotten for several years until it was revived in Italy during the Renaissance. From there it spread to Europe and England. Edmund Spenser's The Shepherd's Calendar is first English pastoral elegy. His Astrophel is another important work in the same genre, written to mourn the death of his friend Sir Philip Sidney. The other important examples of this form includes John Milton's Lycidas and Matthew Arnold's Tiresias. Now let us see some of the features of the pastoral elegy. The poet begins with an invocation to the muses and frequently refers to various characters from mythology. All nature is shown as mourning the dead shepherd. The poet questions the guardian angels of the dead person and blames them for their negligence. There is a procession of mourners. The poet ponders on divine justice and reflects upon the evils of his own times. There is an elaboratively descriptive passages that describes the flowers that are used to deck the hearse. The elegy concludes with a philosophic acceptance of death and hope of meeting the departed again in heaven. Dear friends, we have learned today about the lyric and elegy as one of the important forms of poetry and also saw its structures, rhyme schemes, language, general objectives, etc. Have a great learning time ahead. Thank you very much. We are meeting soon with the another forms of poetry. Till then, take care. Thank you.
स्वाध्यायः परः